Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self-love, self-care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today, we have a special guest who's going to talk to us about seances and tarot readings and tapping into your higher spirits. I'm Lady Bounce,
Kryptonite,
and our special guest,
Jazz the Medium.
Jazz the Medium. I like that. I was like, Jazz the Medium. Can I be like Jazz the Small if you were the medium? Because, you know, one of these stomachs gotta come.
You can't.
That's funny because my teacher called me Jazz the Large.
So
Like,
I can't.
Jazz the Large.
Why you always gotta hate on my dreams, man? I could be Jazz the Small and she Jazz the Medium.
Oh, well, was we talking about your dreams? Okay. I thought we was in the present. Okay.
Pew, pew.
So here we go. All right, so am I doing the mindful? Is it time? It's time for the all right, here we go. Ancestors and remembrance. I honor those who came before me, taking care to practice the lessons that they taught me. I open my heart in gratitude toward the past, which has made me what I am today. My grandparents, who have all passed away now, were mostly mill workers, shopkeepers, and small-time farmers. They didn't live to see cell phones or the internet, but I doubt their lives were at all lessened for lack of technological sophistication. I wonder what they would think of my work, which involves mostly doing things with words, since they mostly did things with their hands. I think they would be saddened by all of the political and economic divisions today, by the dividing of the world between blue collar and white collar, liberal and conservative. Most non-Western traditions have some sort of veneration of ancestors. They do this to prevent spiritual pride and to acknowledge the continuing influence that the past has on us. Take a moment now to appreciate your ancestors. See them now in your mind's eye, with both their good and bad features. Send love toward these people, whether or not you experience them as warm or loving. Feel gratitude filling your mind and heart, and see the debt to the past being paid in full. And that is going to give us a leeway into our current guest and what she does, because she has the ability to do exactly that. See our ancestors and pay homage. You like that bow? How I tagged that in? You out taking lessons?
Take that.
That whole insert was dope too. That was pretty dope. I like that.
Thank you.
All right. So how old were you when you discovered your gift?
When I knew what it was, I was 33. But I've been able to see since I was maybe, from my remembrance, 3. But my mother tells me much younger than that.
Wow. So these things that were happening to you, like growing up, you saw them and just didn't know. What did you think about what you were seeing? Like, what did you think it was?
I thought they were my friends. So it started off, I remember it was a shadow in the wall. They used to tell my mom, like, Mom, there's a shadow in the wall. It's a little girl. And I remember one night thinking, like, I wanted to meet her. And, like, maybe a little bit later, there she was. And we were buddies. And my mother, you know, peace and blessings be upon her, we would set the table and have tea parties with her. That was my buddy. And we found out later, because my mom started to get curious. I was getting too old to have an imaginary friend. Mom was like, well, who's this person? And I said, well, her name is Beverly. And come to find out, my mother had a sister that died, and her name was Beverly.
Really?
And my mom just said, oh, Beverly's her guardian angel. That's what my mom would say.
Was she that age when she passed the age that you saw her at?
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. Like, I don't want to see nobody, but that's neat.
I want to see somebody.
No, I don't want to see.
Yeah, like you know, there's a segment on the CBS morning show when they have the chef on and they go, if you could have this meal with anybody living or dead, who would it be and why? And I always be like, everybody I pick in my head is always somebody who is no longer here. Like, because I can eat with you anytime. You know, I can eat with that other person, but like sit down and have like a meal with my great grandma or my grandma, I would just be dope. And to be able to see them clear, like physical, that would be dope.
And the way I see them is not to where like you're right here and I can touch you. So let's say your chair was empty. of course I know the chair is empty, but a picture may flash in my mind with you sitting in the chair. So I'll know you're there. But of course, it's not like I see y'all. So in my mind, I can see them. They're like flashes for me. Everybody's different. Some people can see them to where they feel tangible. I choose not to.
So you can make that choice. You can choose not to see them. You can choose what level you want to experience their presence. Okay. Now let me ask you before we get too far ahead. Did Beverly, was she there when you and your mom set the place for her at the playing? Did she attend?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just be like, Mom, she's sitting right here. And my mom be like, well, don't nobody sit right there. And over time, more people came. And I found out later they were ancestors. Like, and my mom, she'll shake it out like, my sister's name Beverly. I'm like, oh, there goes Mr. Charles. Oh, my great-grandfather's name was Charles. And it just be...
Wow. So everybody that you mentioned would be somebody that she knew y'all were related to. And it didn't click to her until later in the years when you were still seeing these people, that you were talking about people y'all that had passed from your family?
I don't think it clicked to her until I realized I was a medium. When I turned about maybe 8 or 9, we were visiting a friend of hers and she couldn't find her lighter. And I looked at her and I was like, well, Carl said it's in the kitchen. She was like, she shook her head. She's like, Carl, that's my father's name. And she walked in the kitchen and she came back out pale as a ghost. And the lighter was right where I said it was. And she looked at my mom and she's like, you know what, maybe I should go home. And that's when my mom had that talk with me. My mom was like, you know what, you shouldn't be doing that no more. You're too old. So it kind of went away.
Really?
That's probably some fear there, though.
Well, I would think.
Because I know me just being, regular. If my daughter or my son was like, oh, I can vividly see this person or that person, I'd probably be like, yo, do we need to go see somebody? Like, because I'd be like, well, I can't see it. How come you can?
It was cute until I got about 8 or 9. And I was like, okay, you too old.
You start running people off. You start scaring folks.
She was like,
she said, I gotta leave.
My dad used to be like, well, this is not normal. What she doing is not normal.
Really?
Yeah, so my mom was like, maybe you should stop. So when it came back, my mom, and bless her heart, when it came back, she'll tell me like, Jasmine, what you see? But then she'll tell other people I was crazy.
Really?
Like my daughter, she crazy, right?
That is messed up.
What do you see?
Like
that sound like boy.
That sounds just like her.
Listen, hey, look. I thought it. I wasn't gonna say it. When she see this, you in trouble.
My bad, Ma.
I didn't do it, Ma.
I still love you, Ma.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I did not. I thought it, but I didn't say it. Don't you whoop me. I know. Yeah, just really. We had this discussion, but I'm open to that possibility of someone else being able to have those talents. You know what I mean? And I think everybody has a certain, I guess amount or their eye or that level of sixth sense is somewhat open, because I think everybody feels the goosebumps. Every once in a while you feel a breeze, you hear the you know what I'm saying, but of course we all dismiss it. Most of us dismiss it. And I'm always watching those paranormal shows and stuff like that, so I am open to the possibility of, I don't want to experience it, but I am open to the possibility. I'm not even saying the possibility of, I am open to the fact that these things do exist and that there are people with talents like yours that can see things and experience things and help the rest of us to understand.
Yeah, I believe that, and I know everybody is psychic. Everybody has a sense, and I always put it to like, you ever like dated somebody and you had a feeling they was doing something, you just knew it, like in your gut, like, or you dated somebody and you knew this ain't right.
Yeah, I need to get away from this cat.
See that's we have that, and you're right, and I knew I was right. I knew it. You know what I mean?
Deja vu. I'm always having deja vu.
I have that.
Like, dang, I swear I did this before.
So the way I look at psychic senses and mediumship abilities, they're just extra senses. Like, prime example, my eyesight is like 20/75. You know, I don't see my eyesight and all that, but then yours might be 20/20. You just see a little bit clearer than me. It's the same thing with your senses. You know, some people might have a more heightened awareness than others. So there really is no, because some people, they like to make themselves feel like they're more special or they're more different than anybody. I'm not any special or different. I just see a little clearer than you see. Like, some people may hear clearer than other people hear. Their sense is just like any other sense that we have. That's the way I look at it.
Now, is this something you can turn on and off?
With practice. In the beginning, I couldn't.
So you learn to control it now, because I was just thinking about, like, you know, I like just times where you're not wanting the gift to appear. You know, if you're driving or if you're, you know, just trying to like chill out, like, I would think I wouldn't want to see grandma sitting right there right now.
I created an internal dial. So I know when to turn it down and turn it up. Now, it's not always controllable. Sometimes if somebody got a message, it's going to pop through. Like, look. Because on the spiritual side of things, on the spirit realm side of things, they know who you are. You know, they know that you can see them. You know, I look at it like my symbology for it is like, let's say you're on an ocean, right? And it's dark outside. And you can see a lighthouse hundreds of miles away. You're the lighthouse. So they're all going to go towards you because they can see you. You know what I mean? So that's in my mind, that's the way I see it.
Right.
The lighthouse. So
I like that.
Having your ability and having it at such a young age, I would imagine that you have to learn different coping mechanisms, different, you know what I mean? Like different survival skills. So how did without any guidance, or did you have guidance, how did you learn to control it or turn it off or keep it at bay?
Actually, I learned control through, number one, I have a mentor. Shout out to S. Ali Myers. I have a mentor, and I don't even think mediumship is his thing, but I have a mentor. And then on top of that, I learned everything else is pretty much self-taught, like watching YouTube videos and watching other mediums and stuff like
YouTube
that.
will tell you everything. For real.
I never really per se had like another teacher that was just like, okay, I'm going to teach you mediumship. You know, it kind of came to me naturally.
Which I would think it does. It's not something that most people advertise. Like now you see it a lot, but you know, back in the day, everybody's, oh, that's evil, that's the devil, that's the sign of the devil. And you know, they was making it a big taboo to even have that ability. So to even talk about it was not something that anybody really did.
So you had that, and then you had the whole Miss Cleo fiasco.
Yeah.
And then that took it to the other side where people like, not that it's evil, it's fake, it's not real, or you know.
And now you see all of these TV shows where you have all these different mediums,
yes,
and that and the other. And I'm not trying to be funny or nothing. It's not a color thing. You know what I'm saying? Most of the people are usually Caucasian that you see on the TV shows with, which makes me wonder, because our community, our culture is a lot different. So we kind of be like, nah, don't do that. That's not for us. Did you go through any of that?
Oh yeah. I have a few theories for that. Especially when it comes to us here in this country. I think the religious mindset that was placed upon us. Bestowed upon us. I have to watch my wording, because you know, bestowed upon us. That mentality kind of blocks that. You know what I mean? So it's hard for a lot of some of us to kind of step out of that box. We're afraid to step out of that box because we're afraid of this attitude of, if you step out of this box, you're going to be punished.
Right.
You know, if you learn anything outside of what you've been taught and what your family's been doing for generations and generations and generations, there's punishment for that, you know. And you see it in spiritual people to this day. Like,
do you see me trying to hold it in?
You see
trying not to bubble over.
You see it in spiritual people. Even spiritual people, they become spiritual. They adopt these traditions, but they still have that religious mindset to where now the gods are going to come punish you, or the Orishas, or whoever you know indoctrinate to, or you co-sign with, they're going to come and they're going to get you if you don't do it this way or that way. And I'm starting to see that a lot, and I don't co-sign with that. I don't
co-sign with that either. And I often struggle with religion versus spirituality.
So get out of my head.
So when I tell people, that I'm more spiritual than I am religious, they go, "Well, you don't believe in God?" I'm like,
total opposite.
Like, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, opposite.
It's not what I'm saying. But then, when people say stuff like, I'm in love with God, or God was so in love with me, I'm like, that sounds creepy. Like, that creeps me out when people say stuff like that. And I'm like, that's weird. Or when people say, "Oh, she's a God-fearing woman." Why are you afraid of God? Like, wait a minute. Somebody...
It's that mindset. It's teaching fear. And I think sometimes people have to understand that religions are man-made systems. They were created by men. When spiritual experiences are to each individual. Like, my spiritual experience is going to be different from yours from her. Mm-hmm. So any type of inner work that you do towards self-enlightenment is not a man-made system, because it's your own inner system.
Girl, we gonna be friends when this is over, because you talking to me, because I will tell somebody in a minute there is a difference between religion and spirituality.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Church is not a building that you go to once a week. Church is as soon as you step outside the door, and you are in nature. You are in God's creation. How do you go to a building to worship what you step outside and view every day? The church is the world. It's nature. It's know what I mean?
I agree.
So nature.
I just I don't
Jesus.
think people. I don't
you
think
go to Club Jesus.
Huh?
Let's go to Club Jesus.
But I tell people quite often I don't believe in religion. I don't co-sign with religion, because when you break it down, religion is a man-made object. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Created to keep people in line. The Bible is a book that it might have started off one way. It might have started off talking about what God intended and what God wanted, but by the end, King James came with a whole rendition, threw out a whole nother part, and then people adding stuff in. You know what I mean? You can't man-made stuff that's man-made is tainted because it has been touched by man.
Agreed.
So you can't. I'm not saying don't believe any of it. I'm saying that you shouldn't use it as a guide per se to live with a life that you feel is fulfilling,
right?
But to sit there and say that every word that you have read is the gospel and just what God intended is just, I don't believe, accurate.
Now, we'll clarify that there are a lot of spiritual people in religious settings. Mm-hmm. And one thing I could say, if that's your vessel to self-enlightenment, then toodles, I respect that. I don't think that there's just one way and one way only. Right. I believe in lanes. Now, if you cross over into my lane trying to get me to get over in your lane, that's when we have a problem.
Right.
Your way is your way, and however I choose to do my way, let me just
right
drive in my lane.
Yeah, like you can't tell me I'm wrong because I'm a Catholic and you're a Baptist. Exactly. That's just the way you believe.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it, but
it's just not my way.
But even with Christianity, there's different levels. So, like, you might be a Baptist Christian, or you might be a Pentecostal Christian. So there's levels to it, and so that staying in your lane and not pushing whatever your belief is onto somebody else, I think that's important, because that's where people who are more spiritual versus religious, that's where the conflicts come in. Don't tell me how to live. Like, you can't tell me, eating pork is bad, or this is bad, or I prayed over it, now it's okay. If I pray over this arsenic, it's still arsenic. Like, so you can't be like, oh, well, we can't eat this, but I prayed over it, so now the Bible says, like, because one part of the Bible says you can't eat it, then another part of the Bible says, well, now if you pray over it, you can eat it. Like, okay. So like that picking and choosing the parts that you want to follow and use to control or oppress other people is like a major problem. And if you believe that that's cool, like you said, stay in your lane. Don't come over here trying to force me to think this way or be that way, because I ain't cool.
Let me ask you, when you do you ever like walk into a place and just get bombarded?
Oh yeah, especially hospitals, nursing homes.
I bet. I bet you do too.
Places where there are a lot of people, I do. I always try to guard myself, but it depends. I'm still human, so if I'm having an emotional day, it might be harder. You know, I'm a nurse, so
are you
careful going to work? Yeah.
Oh, you in trouble, sis. You
go to
poor
work.
thing.
You don't know why you crying. Oh my God.
Wow.
So, like, are you a nurse in a hospital or a nursing home?
Right now, I am actually a dialysis nurse.
Oh, okay.
But you got to understand, a lot comes with that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Poverty, illness, sickness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and then I would imagine that when, say, a person passes, do they come visit?
Sometimes. Matter of fact, I saw one last night when I was closing, and she scared me.
Oh,
She had just died probably maybe a week or two ago, one of the patients there, and I was closing. I turned off the light, locked the door, and I looked up in the front lobby, and there she was.
Wow.
But, you know, usually I feel them coming. I didn't feel her coming. She just kind of
Just popped
up on me. I was like, oh.
So when that happens, what do you do? Like, do you talk to them? What do you do?
Sometimes, but if I don't want to talk, I turn that dial off. I don't always want to talk.
And when you talk, is it like mine or do you speak?
It's mine. They don't move their mouths when they talk.
Well, I know they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might, like if I'm talking to my mom and I'm by myself, it might look like I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to her. You know, when I feel her energy.
Does she come and visit you often?
Wow.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Especially when I'm going through a lot.
I mean, to be able to still have that in your life.
Yeah, but I didn't have it at first, though. It was difficult. And I fought that because I'm like, why can everybody pick up on my mother, but I can't? But then I realized I wasn't ready. I would have been an emotional mess if she would have just died. And every time I turned around, I felt her. So I think she knew that.
Wow. I bet she did, though.
So the people that you see, have you ever had any of them like ask you to do something like unfinished business, sort of, so to speak, like I don't know, I was thinking about the movie Ghost, and remember he wanted to find out who killed him, and he wanted his wife to know that he was all right, so that
I have had that. Honestly, I don't. I had it a lot with murder victims, but I don't solve murders.
Right.
That's just not my cup of tea. So
right.
So because it can be dangerous,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It could be dangerous. I had another medium. I knew her life was threatened. They found she helped with that case. If I ever did anything, I had to be completely anonymous. I cannot be.
Right.
Yeah. But also, like, some of them, sometimes they need help crossing over. Mm-hmm. Like, they need closure just like we need closure.
Right.
Some of them don't know they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like one time I had a young man, he was shot, and he asked me, he was like, am I dead? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, what about my mother? I said, your mother be okay. He said, well, what am I supposed to do? He had just got killed that morning, and I didn't even know till I went home and watched the news, but I knew his mother. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to? He was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I said, well, do you see anybody? He said, yeah, I see my grandma. I said, well, go with her.
Oh, I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
Like, that is so, that I don't want to have, because I feel like I would be the type of person that would either always be in the street crying or always trying to help somebody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like that would, I'd just be like, go with your grandma. You know what I'm saying?
That one was a difficult one for me because it was the first, and I worked with his mother.
Oh wow!
And that was just very emotional. Then I go home and I watched the news, and there he is on news.
Oh wow!
I didn't even know that was her son because working with her, I never seen her son.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I look on Facebook, she said, "Y'all pray with me. Pray for me. My son just died." And I'm like,
wow.
So that one was a little emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've learned to do over the years is to kind of keep my emotions intact, which can be harder than others, especially when I get with children that passed, or especially children that commit suicide. That's a hard one for me. I don't know why. I had a lady the other day, her son committed suicide, and he was only like 12. And that weighed on me. You can ask them. I came home, I was a mess. I'm like, I don't even want to talk to nobody. I don't want to do nothing. I'm just going to go upstairs and put the cover over my head.
So how do they present? Like when you see them, how do they present themselves to you?
It depends. Sometimes they'll present to me exactly the way they look, and I'll see them exactly how they look. Or sometimes they present to me in the image of somebody that I know that I can describe them. So let's say somebody lost an ancestor and I see one of my old friends, Jackie. I'll be like, wow, she look like Jackie, so I'll know that she's lighter skinned. I'll know that she'll have lighter color eyes. I'll know that she have short, curly hair, or her name just might be Jackie. So it's kind of like a puzzle. You have to like know your symbols and know what you're dealing with. So if I describe that person to them, they be like, I don't know that person. I say, oh, well, she kind of put me in mind of my name, Jackie. Oh my gosh, my grandmother's main name was Jackie. Then I know I'm on to something.
Okay,
Same thing with animals. Animals can't come and tell you their name. Like one time, my friend had a farm and I saw a horse. I'm like, there's a horse here. And I was like, he looks like an Oreo cookie. Oh my gosh, we had a horse named Cookie. You see what I mean? So, like that.
Okay.
Like, well, I keep seeing a dog and a bear. Oh, our dog was named Bear. So.
Okay.
That's how the symbols work. Weird. Symbols.
But not weird though, because it fits for the people that you're talking to. It's just weird to you because you don't know what it is until you say something.
Yeah. And sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes. Cause I have a habit. Sometimes I'll hold it in. Like, wait, why do I keep seeing these orange socks? And I remember one time I was talking to this lady. I was like, I keep seeing, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. Why do I see orange socks? And she was like, my daughter died. She had these Halloween socks, and I wear them.
Wow.
So you just never know.
So does anybody ever present, like, say, in the manner that they passed? Like, say, if somebody was shot in the chest, do you see that?
I choose not to. So what I do is I feel.
Okay.
So if I feel like sharp pain to my chest or sharp pain somewhere, I know they were shot or stabbed. If I feel like a pressing, I know it was like a heart attack. If I have trouble breathing, I know it was lungs. If I feel tingling on my side, I know it was a stroke. So I choose not to see that.
Oh, okay. Wow. So is there anything are there any exercises or anything that you do to like enhance that sixth sense? Or it's just natural and it just come when it comes?
It's just natural, but for other people out there, I would say meditation is important. Just find ways to meditate and practice with your friends. That's any type of reader, any type of gifted person practice. Because it's a muscle. Exercising.
Well, like I say, I watch a lot of these paranormal shows and stuff. So I see when they talk about, especially the ones, the paranormal kids, where they have the mentors that come in and try and help children that are going through the same thing, but they don't know what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I find that interesting that, enough people have the ability that they've got a TV show about it to try and help other people with it. You know what I mean? I just think that's fascinating.
Yeah, my 4-year-old's a paranormal kid, and I kind of help her through it. She was scared at first, but she's getting to the point where she's no longer scared.
That's cool, because at least she, having you there to help her and guide her, she doesn't have to be afraid of it, and she can be comfortable with it in her own skin.
I like that.
And regardless of where she goes, nobody is going to be able to tell her you can't do that, you crazy, you dead wrong.
Right. I think it's more acceptable now because we do have like the TV shows about it, and there are even fictional shows where people have abilities. So now it's coming out into the forefront. So she's gonna get to come up in a time where you're gonna be weird if you don't have the ability. Like, well, you can't see people, you can't talk. What's wrong with, like, it's going, because it's becoming so normalized, like,
and it's a trend.
Yeah, and my favorite shows are the YouTube shows, because nobody on there is paranormal. Nobody on there is sensitive. They just catching stuff on tape and running scared. Like, them reactions genuine. They for real. They like, did y'all see that? I'm out of here.
That was me at that place. I saw something go. Shoo. I said,
like, wait a minute.
Mediums get scared too. I'm like, what was that?
Okay, so you do something. You have videos and you do What It Do Wednesdays. So I have not been bold enough yet to submit a question. However, I do watch. Do you ever have anybody? And if y'all What It Do Wednesdays, people can send her questions and she will answer them. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have people look at you after you answer them and go, "Nah, you wrong"? Yeah. Like, girl, you didn't see that. You did not see that. Pookie is gonna do right by me this year. He said so.
All the time. All the time.
Good old Pookie.
All the time. I get people, they'll tell me I'm wrong, and I I don't care about being wrong. I'm just a messenger, you
Right.
know.
Now let me ask you: do those same people come back and tell you was right?
A lot of them do. Yeah.
Wow.
No, but I'm not always right. You know, we do have to give the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But sometimes
Well, yeah,
when
because
I'm
if
right,
you
I'll be
tell
wrong.
me on Monday if I go on the highway that I might be in a car accident, I'm gonna take the city route. I'm not gonna be on the highway
Right.
on Monday.
But
That's
then you
my,
might get in an accident on the city route.
which may be true. But you said the highway, so I ain't getting on the highway.
Right. I'm gonna trust what you say.
Yeah.
I don't-
see. That's how much I believe in your abilities.
Right. I believe. I am a believer. Like if you told me something, you know, to do this or not do this, I'm gonna be like, hey, she the truth. I've seen enough, you know, of your work to know she not playing. So I'm like, yeah, I'd be like, yep, I'm not wearing that today or going there tomorrow.
Hey, I would be the same way. But now, again, back to my paranormal shows. So a lot of the people on the shows do things like burn sage and they have crystals and herbs and different things that are related to that world. You know, do you practice any of that, or do you
Oh
do
yeah,
any of that?
but you understand, sage has been burned for thousands of years.
Right,
You know,
right.
to clear negative energy. I burn sage. I burn Palo Santo. I love Palo Santo.
Me too.
I love incense. We always got incense burning in my house. You know, it's a vibe. But, you know, it's also good for clearing energy. You know, my friend makes a good floor wash. If we clean the floors, we'll clean it with floor wash, or we'll use Florida water. All of that. All of that.
I like it.
Well, that's cool.
All right. So, because you're here, you know, we always gotta have the self-care assignment. So the self-care assignment is, I'm coming to see you so we can do this together. Okay.
Yay!
Part 2 to this.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm thinking of like other questions, but you know, I don't want our producer fussing at us, so we don't try to stay on time and all. All right. So this one says, have a seance. Connecting with our loved ones who have passed on is something almost everyone tries to do. We are naturally curious about what lies beyond this life. Do we go to heaven? Do we watch and protect our friends and family? Do we reincarnate and start another life? We'll never actually know what happens, but it's good to be curious. So tonight, hire a medium. Hire, that means pay. Cash App, run the jewels. Okay, I'm sorry. PayPal, Cash App. Ask everyone to bring ask a medium to perform a seance for you and your friends. Have everyone to bring an object that is somehow connected to someone that they have lost. Keep an open mind and have fun, and accept any messages that come as signs of love from those on the other side.
Okay.
Why you looking like that?
Because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I got some questions. I want to ask him, but we out of time. So I'm sitting here, I'm bubbling because hold a seance. I don't know about no seance, man. I don't know about no seance.
But if you hire a professional, you probably have less reason to worry. Like I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, look. What's gonna come through is gonna come through, right? Professional, non-professional, whatever. Okay, we got to end this, right? I'm bubbling. I'm telling you, I'm bubbling. I'm trying to not do this, and you're pushing.
Okay, I'm not gonna push. We're gonna wrap
Okay.
up with our brain science. So there's brain science behind everything, and the brain science for this week's episode is how tarot cards work. So really quickly, you do tarot readings with cards. So a lot of people think that that's mumbo jumbo. It's fake. It is very real. All right. So tarot card reading means, for most people, a woman in flowing robes leaning over a small table in a candlelight room foretelling impending doom. That is not what it is.
No.
Right. So when you have a reading, the first thing to know is that there are actually two types of tarot readings: question readings and open readings. In question readings, you are addressing a specific question. Tarot is not intended to answer specific yes or no questions. Most say it also shouldn't be used to make decisions, but instead be used as a guide to help you make the decision for yourself. And for this reason, the way a question is stated is very, very important. So, open-ended questions, not yes or no questions, and no, she don't have the lotto numbers. Don't play.
Man, cause I'm trying to find that medium.
I think I helped somebody once or twice hit the lotto.
Ooh.
It was a pick 3. And it was given to me by an ancestor, by the way. I didn't pick them.
Oh,
I was like, he keeps saying 523. You know, May 23rd, 523, 523. She said, we ain't know it. So me and my mom went and played it and we hit it.
There it is.
Straight.
That's all that was. Hey, look, I'm trying to find the power. Let me know the ancestor that give you the Powerball read. That's the one I want.
Well, when I get them answers, I'm playing them. But
Hey, look, I'll give you $1. We can go in.
We got a whole algorithm we be doing at home. Like, look, okay, cross out the 2 and a 4, 2, 2, 7. We be on it every week, faithfully.
I ain't mad at none of y'all about that one. Okay.
So open readings address the larger aspects of your life rather than the specific problem, area, or question. They are usually done when you're entering a new phase in life, such as getting married, graduating from college, or starting a family. You can somewhat direct the reading if you have a general area you want to cover, such as your career or your health, but that's as specific as the directions get. So, real quick, there's common themes on tarot cards. There's the death card, which means ending, transition, elimination, exonerable forces. So not necessarily a person around you dying, but something is ending, the end of something. The Fool represents beginning, spontaneity, faith, and apparent folly. The High Priestess is non-action, unconsciousness, awareness, potential, and mystery. The Lovers mean relationship, sexuality, personal beliefs, and values. And last but not least, the Magician, which means action, conscious awareness, concentration, or power.
I'm gonna get action, death, the Lovers, and then the Queen. it's gonna be like you about to do something, you gonna die. Your relationship is over, and then you gonna be in heaven with that higher power. At least I'm hoping so.
They don't never fall the way you want them to.
You know,
You feel like, damn, we just flip again.
look, I ain't even messing with the cards. I ain't messing with it. If I can't pick numbers, I'm not picking cards.
They have numbers on them now. Just saying.
Okay, but you know what you can pick?
Hey, you can pick. You can pick the fly with us.
You can pick the ways that you love yourself. You can pick the ways that you fly with us. You can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, Anchor, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify now. Hey, we done grew up in the world.
Okay.
Or you
Spotify us the other day, girl.
Spotify.
Yes.
And you can always email us at flywithusla@gmail.com. Spend the week loving yourself. Hire a medium to have that seance. I'm Lady Bounce.
I'm Kryptonite, y'all.
And she's Jazz the Medium. And we out.
All right.
Peace.